Alright guys, welcome back to another My Hero Ultra Impact PvP tier list, and today this tier list is going to be changing drastically because I feel like I didn't do a good job the last time I did a tier list with actually adjusting the characters who were already in it, and so I want to go ahead and adjust a lot of these characters, and then I'm going to be placing the new characters into the tier list. And now because I am going to be adjusting so many characters, I'm not going to go through my entire synopsis of why I'm moving each character where I am, because honestly that would just be like a 2-hour long video with how many characters I am about to move. Okay, so prepare yourselves, a lot is about to change with this PvP tier list. Okay, the very first character we are going to be moving is going to be Blue All Might. Blue All Might, I had him up here in sub meta, and for a while he was when the defense meta was more of a thing with like Redestro being really annoying and stuff like that. But right now, currently in PvP, we are not dealing with that defense meta, and so for that reason, we are going to move him down to A tier. He's just outshined more by other units nowadays, okay? Next, we're going to be moving Fantasy Kirishima. Fantasy Kirishima is also up here in S. I don't think he is all that he used to be, and now his defense doesn't really matter now that we're in more of an attack all meta, right? So we're gonna move him down to A. I do still think he is a competent character. I just don't think you're gonna see him used as much. Next, we're gonna move Red Aizawa. Red Aizawa is somewhere here, right here in S where I have him, and I'm actually gonna be moving him up because we have found recently that he has really good utility, and his ability to draw and drop aggro is really good and annoying, and he has a good mixture of damage as well as tank ability. So for that reason, we're going to put him up here in SS. He's just really good and really annoying to play against on a good defense team. Next, we're going to be moving Fantasy Aizawa. So Fantasy Aizawa is going to be moving up as well from S tier up to double S tier alongside the Red Aizawa. And Fantasy Aizawa is really good because he kind of allows you to punch above the belt and kill units you might not otherwise be able to kill. He is very annoying on a sub slot on a defense team when you're going against him because he can come out and potentially one-shot one of your characters, right? So he is a very good and annoying PvP character. The next character we're going to be moving, and I got a giant list once again of these characters, is Fantasy Todoroki. Fantasy Todoroki is not going to be moving up, however. Fantasy Todoroki is going to be moving down. So currently, Fantasy Todoroki is an S tier. We are going to move him down to A tier because now I would say he's just more competent. He's not, I wouldn't call him meta or sub meta at this point. You don't see him used nearly as much. You might see him used like once in a great while, but realistically, you're not going to see him used as much. Next, we're going to be moving down Fantasy Kaminari. Fantasy Kaminari was an S sub-meta for some reason. I feel like I should have moved him down sooner, honestly. I don't know why he is still up there. Yeah, we're moving him down to A. He is still competent. He has a status ailment counter, right? He can be decent, but he's just not going to be picked all that much. Next, we have Yukata Todoroki. So we are going to be moving Yukata Todoroki down to A tier. Where is he at? Actually, no. Well, yes, we're gonna move him down to A tier. I don't think he's as good as he used to be. Now, if you want to make the argument that this Todoroki is better than this one or this one's better than this one, I'll leave that up to you guys. This is in no particular order, so that's just where we're gonna put him. I'm gonna move him down to A tier. There might be an argument to put him in S, but I feel like right now he's just not as good as he used to be. Next, we're gonna be moving Fantasy Deku. Fantasy Deku has always been good on a defense subslot. However, nowadays I feel like he's just not as good with the amount of healing there is in the game, so we're gonna put him into A as competent, especially with the new celebration Yayurozu being in the game with her last stands. It's just easy for people to survive this guy, so I feel like he's not as good as he used to be, so we're definitely moving him down to A. Same thing with Fantasy Bakugo. We're going to move him down to A as well for similar reasons. And then also Fantasy Ida, we are actually going to move him down as well. He was up here in SS. We're actually just going to move him down here to S. We're not moving him that far, but I feel like he's not as good as he used to be. He's definitely not as good as a lot of these other characters up in SS, and we're still moving some of these characters, so some of these characters that are up here maybe shouldn't be up there yet. So keep that in mind. We might end up moving some of those characters down. The next character we're going to move is Gentle Criminal. So if we have Ida in S tier, Gentle Criminal definitely can't be there with him because Gentle Criminal is like the discount Ida. Let's not lie to ourselves. So we're going to put him down here in A. The only thing that might make Gentle Criminal better is if you have him DX level 130, whereas you don't have Ida DX level 130, right? But in general, at a level 100 stance, if you were to compare the two, Ida is better, right? So we're going to put Ida in S. And we're going to put Gentle Criminal in A. Hopefully that makes sense to you guys. Next, we're going to be moving Red Todoroki. Red Todoroki is going to be coming from A tier. I have him somewhere here in A tier. It takes me a minute to look through all the faces. Right, there he is. We're going to be moving Red Todoroki down from A tier, and he is going to end up moving down to B. I would call him a situational character because he does have his Frostbite. Frostbite is a status element that is very good for interrupting skill chains, right? So I wouldn't say he's like low value or just fun to use at that point. I think he is better than maybe some of his other Todoroki counterparts. So I would probably put him into a situational tier where he might be used in certain situations. Okay, after Red Todoroki, we have New Year's Deku. So New Year's Deku is the blue Deku, and we are going to be moving him down as well. So where is New Year's Deku? There he is. Okay, so there's New Year's Deku, and we're going to be moving him down to B tier as well for situational, just because he has one skill that isn't even an attack skill. His other skill does have the stun. Like, he's pretty good with the stuns and stuff like that, but I don't think people are really ever going to use him. I really wanted him to be good. I actually have him DX level 130, but he just hasn't really ever found his chance to shine. And since he only has a single target attack, right, he may never find his chance to shine. Next, we're going to be moving Yellow Shigaraki. So Yellow Shigaraki I had incompetent, but I think now that we've gotten the chance to play with him more, he's just situational. You're not going to be able to. I want a good Shigaraki in the game. Unfortunately, you can see there's not really one. Okay, the villains are few and far in between for good villains. Redestro being up here in S, he's actually not going to move, but I'm very happy that we at least have one villain who's like really good. Redestro is insane, right? But Shigaraki, not so much. Okay, so next we're going to be moving Red Bakugo. Red Bakugo is up here in double S tier because at the time when I initially did this tier list before other characters came out, he was actually pretty good. But now, in comparison to like Celebration Bakugo and other characters, I do think he would go down to competent. I think he's just a competent character overall. He's a solid option, but if you had to choose between like Celebration Bakugo and Red Bakugo, I mean, it's obvious which one you should choose, right? You should be choosing Celebration Bakugo if you can. So for that reason, Red Bakugo goes down to A tier. Okay, and then the next character we're going to be placing is Green Bakugo. So Green Bakugo is currently in A tier right now with the Fantasy Bakugo and with Red Bakugo. So Green Bakugo does not belong here. He does have stacking, which is cool, but you never get to make use of it, right? So for that reason, I'd put him in B tier. If you have some way to keep your team alive for a long amount of time to give him that stacking damage, then potentially he could be okay, but overall I just don't think he's going to be that nuts. And then we have Inasa. Inasa I had in submeta. He might still arguably be submeta, but I'm going to move him down to A tier for now. I would say he's competent now more nowadays than like before. I think when it comes to running attack all characters, you're going to run other characters that are just better, like Nejire, who can offer you evasion and healing and stuff like that. So I don't think you're going to be running Inasa as opposed to some of these other characters. Compressed with his binds, which is insane, right? So for that reason, we're moving him down to A tier. After Inasa, we have Blue Kirishima. And Blue Kirishima is currently sitting in A tier. This one kind of hurts me, but hey, if we're putting regular Kirishima down here in A tier with him, or not regular Kirishima, Fantasy Kirishima down here in A tier with him, Blue Kirishima can't be on the same tier. And so for that reason, we're going to move him to situational. I do think his barriers and stuff like that are good, but they're not as good as they used to be, especially with multi-hit attacks. It might even be an argument to put him down to like D tier. I'll have to think about that because the barriers just aren't what they used to be for Kirishima, but I do think he could be used in a certain situation where you're not dealing with multi-hit attacks. So for that reason, I'm going to put him in B tier for right now. And then next we have Green Hawks. Green Hawks I had incompetent. You just don't see him run as much nowadays. He gives the evasion when he comes in to the battle, which is okay, but it's just not anything that insane. So we're going to move him down to B tier as well. Blue Hawks, same thing. He's just not as useful as he used to be, so we're going to move him down to B tier situational as well. Red Hawks, we are going to leave where he is. I do think he is slightly better than Blue and Green, and you will actually see him run once in a while in PvP for his attack all and his attacks. So we'll keep him where he is for right now. Now, Twice, I don't even know why he is remotely still up here. I don't know what I was thinking the last time I did a tier list. He definitely 100% should not be in A tier. Twice is not that great of a character. So for that reason, we're going to move him down to C. I think he's a fun character to use, but he is not the tank that you know, he's not the tank you want to pick in comparison to like Fantasy Kirishima. Fantasy Kirishima is going to be a way better tank than Twice, right? So yeah. Green Present Mike, also another character who I don't know how he kind of flew under the radar, but for some reason he stayed in A tier last time I did a tier list video, and he definitely does not deserve to be there. He is definitely situational, so I'm going to put him in B tier for right now. I do think that's kind of where he belongs. Next, we have the Purple Sue, or the Christmas Sue, and Christmas Sue is currently sitting in A tier. I would say because of her cooldowns, she goes down to a B tier. Her cooldowns are just a bit too long, and she's not quite as good of a healer as the other characters, so yeah, that's where we're going to put her. And then Sun Eater is another character that's an A tier. I had him at competent. Well, he was a decent tank, but he only had single target attacks, and since single target attacks are bad now, and that's what he has, we're going to end up moving him actually quite a bit down. We're going to move him even below Kirishima here. I'm going to put him in C, fun to use, and once again, Kirishima could be C or D. I don't know. I'm still debating it. Okay, but for right now, I'm gonna put Sun Eater in C for fun to use. I don't think people are gonna be using him too much. I could see people using Kirishima over Sun Eater personally, but that's just my opinion. Let me know what you guys think down in the comments. That will probably be the most controversial thing today. Which one's better of the two here on the tier list? And then next we have Blue Momo. So Blue Momo is currently in B tier. We are going to end up moving her down significantly. Okay, she's not very good. She's never been good. She could, if characters need a buffs, this character needs a buff. Now they did buff World Heroes missions characters, so maybe eventually general pools will get the same treatment, but for right now, I'm going to put her in D tier. I'm going to put her in low value. You're probably not hardly ever going to use her. Okay, so don't worry about working on Red Momo for PvP, and then Blue Momo for PvP, but same thing for Red Momo and PvP. I'm going to move her down to low value as well. So both Momos go into D tier. You're just not really ever going to use them. It's crazy that we have two Momos down here in D tier, and then we have Celebration Momo up here in double S. At least we got one good one, right? And she doesn't even do attacks except for on her plus ultra. So yeah, very interesting. Next, we're going to be moving down Blue Sue. So Blue Sue is somewhere here in B tier. Okay, if we have Purple Sue here in B tier, we definitely can't have Blue Sue in B tier. I'm actually going to end up moving Blue Sue down to D tier as well. And then I'm going to be moving Yellow Bakugo as well. He is going to be moving down quite significantly. Okay, so Yellow Bakugo, where did I have the boy? I had him right here in C tier, and I'm going to be moving him down to F. Okay, I have to add other people into the garbage tier now. I originally had garbage tier as kind of like a little bit of a joke because I really don't like Green Deku, but I'm going to fully utilize this tier list now, and I would say Yellow Bakugo, you're not going to use him. He does do crit rate for your team, but it's not great. He's not all that. Okay, so Yellow Bakugo down to F with Deku, and then Red Shigaraki is another character I am going to be moving. So Red Shigaraki I had in B tier as situational. I think now he's just not as good. If we have Yellow Shigaraki here, Red Shigaraki is obviously not on the same level. So I'm going to end up moving Red Shigaraki down to low value as well. I don't think you're going to be using him that much in PvP. So, I mean, you could put him on a sub slot maybe and make use of him, but I think even then Purple Shigaraki is better for that. I've seen people put Purple Shigaraki on a sub slot and he comes out and does 99,000 damage with his plus ultra if you have a plus ultra memory on him. But this one's just not nearly as good. Okay, so I would probably go with Red Shigaraki in D tier. Next, Purple Todoroki. Purple Todoroki is going to be moving down as well. So we have Purple and Yellow. Purple is going to be moving down to F tier. His cooldowns are terrible. He's not great. Yellow Todoroki, same thing. I just don't think those Todorokis are that great. They do have status elements, but they're not great. I don't know. They're not very good units. They never were, never have been, probably never will be until they update the units. They're very old. So we're going to put them down there in F tier. And then after the Todorokis, we have Mirio. So Yellow Mirio was up here in B tier for situational. Arguably, you could still have him there with his evasion, but I feel like he's just not as good as he used to be. And now that we have Green Mirio, why would you ever run Yellow Mirio? So I'll put him in D tier here. That's kind of where I feel like he belongs. And then Red All Might, we are also going to be moving down. Okay, so Red All Might, I think I also had up here in situational somewhere. Yep, there he was. And I'm actually going to be moving him down to D tier as well, because I feel like he just doesn't have as much value as he once had, especially with the new units that are in the game. A lot of the reason a lot of these units are moving down is because the new units are just so overpowered. The power creep, the scale, it's crazy, right? And that's how it works in any gacha game. So eventually these characters had to go down. It is what it is. And then Green Ida was a character that was beloved by like people for a long time. Green Ida was actually pretty decent. However, I would still kind of say he's situational, but at the same time, I feel like you're not going to use him as much as some of these other situational characters. I would put him in C, fun to use, because he gives the additional attacks to your whole team, right? So I would say Green Ida is more of a fun to use character. Next, we have Green Uraraka. Green Uraraka, out of all the healers, you're probably not choosing her, so I'm gonna like, for the healer's sake, she's definitely on the level of Blue Yayorozu and Red Yayorozu. Like, she's not as good, so I think she deserves to be with those two in the low value tier for D tier. She's just not the greatest character. And then last but not least, for characters that we are going to be moving, is going to be Purple All For One. Purple All For One is going to be moving from situational down to fun to use. I don't think you're going to have very many situations where you use him. And now I feel like this tier list is looking a lot better. This is our SS meta. This is our sub meta characters right here. Here are our competent characters. Here are our situational characters where you'd use in certain situations. Here are our fun to use characters. Here are our low value characters. You don't really want to invest in them. And then here are your kind of garbage characters who are just, you know, not even worth looking at in terms of PvP. Okay. Now that leaves us with the new units who we need to place. Okay. So we have these units right here. We have Celebration Bakugo. We have Monoma. We have Edge Shot. We have Night Eye. All these characters. I think Celebration Bakugo came out before Monoma, if I remember. So we'll try to do them in order here as much as possible. So starting with Celebration Bakugo, we are going to be putting him into double S tier with his other celebration counterparts. Surprise, surprise, because he does defense down, he has action skill cooldown time, he increases his own speed, he decreases enemy speed, and crit. Like, he's just a very good character, right? So it shouldn't be a surprise to anybody that he is going into double S tier. Next, we are going to be placing Monoma. Monoma is actually a character that might surprise you guys. I am also going to put him in double S tier. He has the insane ability to draw and drop aggro, and as you saw with like Red Aizawa placing him up here, Monoma does a similar thing with that drawing and dropping of aggro. He's a really good tank, and he has status ailments, the confusion, and he also does decent damage, right? So Monoma actually a double S character, so that's really nice for the first class B character, and we are getting a new one here soon, Komori, so we'll see how she ends up placing when she does come out. And then next we have Edge Shot. Edge Shot is a pro hero who's going to be placed into A tier. Okay, I really wanted him to be good upon his release. I thought he was going to be better than he turned out being, but you know, it is what it is. So he has good cooldowns, he has good damage, he gives speed to allies, but the problem is it requires him to have evasion to give that speed to his allies, and he also has no status elements. Okay, so for those two reasons, we're putting him in A tier. Next, we're going to be placing Night Eye. Night Eye is a free-to-play climax battle character. He can only currently get up to level 100. I think personally at level 130, he could be S tier with his barriers, his stuns, his AoE attacks, and stuff like that. But as of right now, with him only being able to be level 100, I am going to put him in A tier for competent. But once we get him to level 130, he might move up to S. It all just depends on what characters have come out in the game by the time we're actually able to get him to 130. Because there was a time when it felt like Redestro would be double S, right? But then other characters came out that overshadowed him, and so that's why like Redestro ended up moving down to S by the time we were even able to get him to level 130. Okay, so hopefully that makes sense. And then next we are going to be placing Christmas Jiro. Christmas Jiro I actually really like as a character. If only they had given her some speed, right? Because she needed that. So she has good healing, she has status element nullification, but she has like no speed, and because of that speed, it really holds her back. We're going to put her into competent as well next to Night Eye. Following her, we have Shoji. Shoji is an interesting character. He can increase HP and crit rate of all allies. He has really good AoE damage. It's even better AoE damage on his action skill when you have him DX plus. However, when you only have him level 100, he's not as good. And the other problem with him is he lacks speed, and he does have status ailments, but his status ailments are only single target status ailments. So like, why would you run a single target status ailment character over a character like Compress, who has a multi-target status element, or Uraraka, who has a multi-target status element, right? So for that reason, Shoji's going to go in A. If they had just given him his stun on the AoE, then he could definitely be like an S or double S character. But for that reason, we're going to put him into A. And next we have a very, very, very interesting character, perhaps one of the most interesting characters they've released so far, and that is New Year's Uraraka, because her skills only apply in, what is it, Club Festival and PvP. And so what she's going to do is she does a plus Ultra Gauge down, which is just crazy. She is the only character so far with that, and so that interrupts plus Ultras, and that is just so good. She is the only unit that can do that. However, she does lack speed, so literally only because she lacks speed, she goes into S for sub meta. She could almost be double S. She could almost be there if she could just be a little bit faster, because if people run speed teams against her where they're going to be able to get the first turn and they just focus her down, she has kind of low health and it's easy to kind of burst her down before she's able to do anything, right? So if the enemy finds a way to kill her, which is fairly easy, then she can't do her stuff. So for that reason, we're putting her in S sub meta. Next, we have the New Year's Bakugo. New Year's Bakugo, not nearly as good as Uraraka, but still a very interesting character, different from all the other Bakugos because he can hide allies. He's a decent tank, and the problem with him is he lacks speed and status elements, okay? So for that reason, we are actually going to put him in competent as well. I would say he's an A tier character. He's decent when it comes to tanking and stuff like that. He can fully heal himself, which is crazy, right, when he gets down to a certain health threshold. So he's decent, especially when you pair him with like Celebration Momo, who gives him last stands, right? So, but not the craziest unit. And then last but not least for this tier list, I am not going to be placing Komori yet because she is not released at the time of recording this video. I will do another tier list later where I place her. So if you guys would like to see that, make sure you go down there, hit that like button and hit that subscribe button. I can't promise though that tier list will be anytime soon. Usually I try to wait like at least a month or two in between tier lists because I don't want to just do them for one character at a time, right? I want to be able to put a couple of characters in, so it'll be a while before you guys see the next one, okay? But last but not least, we have Purple All Might here. And Purple All Might, he is an all-around just okay character, right? I wouldn't say he's crazy. I wouldn't say he's broken. Of course, this is just based on what other people who are in Legends rank have been telling me. This is not my own opinion because I did not pull this character. This is like the first general pull in a very long time that I have not pulled. But for the reason that he's just an okay all-around character and it takes him a while to actually you know, get his persistence and stuff like that, we're gonna put him in A tier. He's just a very different character, and I don't think he's too broken. He's definitely not broken, right? But he's definitely not bad. He's not as bad as the Red All Might, right? So I feel like it's fair to place him there. And then, like I said, for Komori, we'll get around to her when she comes out. And that is the tier list, guys. Let me know what you guys think down in the comments. Do you agree with the tier list? Are there any characters you would move up? Are there any characters you would move down? Hopefully these fixes that I made have kind of made things look a little bit better. I'm a lot happier with the way this looks compared to the way it looked at the start, but let me know what you guys think. If you guys enjoyed the video, please consider going down there, hitting that like button, hitting that subscribe button, and thank you guys so much for watching. Peace.